You're in a trade, you're offside. It's not going your way. So you close it and enter another shortly after. But once again, you find yourself offside and say to yourself, I'm not trading again for another hour or so. But of course, minutes later, you find yourself in that same vortex, luring you into what feels like a battle with a hauntingly invisible enemy, made to beat you on every trade you take. Sound familiar? Well, in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 steps that I use to overcome overtrading, which I've learned from the traders and coaches here at Axia Futures. It's that struggle many of us face when we're just too active in the market, making more trades than we should. So without further ado, let's get straight into my top 3 processes on how, of course, I dealt with these problems. Number 1, the daily plan. And this is so crucial, right? This is actually, something that goes back to a previous video that I did not so long ago about daily routines and rituals. And you can check that video here on the top right corner of your screen if you haven't seen it yet. It's the very first thing that I do at the start of each day when I'm at the office. Of course, with my coffee in hand, my computer's turned on. It's my pre-market research, my pre-game, so to speak, right? And that's doing things like catching up on overnight news, looking at what moved the markets the day prior, where did the cash session close the night before, and of course, what news or data we may be having, the upcoming day. And actually, one of our subscribers here on this channel, at 21 Jilu, and I'll put it down here below, asked us something on that previous video, which was, can you please elaborate on what news data you look at for past overnight trading? Do you use the data to result and trade with that? Thank you, and once again, great content. So 21 Jilu, first of all, thank you for your comment here. It's exactly what I've been saying on these videos. I really appreciate when we see these comments from you guys, the interactions that you bring to the table here, because again, it's all about that collaborative framework. Now, to answer your question, here at Axia Futures, we are very fortunate to have our own research department that provides us with this concise information, and not just in the morning, throughout the whole day and week. But this information can also be found on many economic related websites and calendars, as I'm sure you're probably aware of, right? There's so many of them, as well as social media, platforms, as well as things like LinkedIn, etc. Right? There's so many. Now, I take this data and I use this data to formulate in conjunction with the market's movements, my plan of where we were and what potential does the market have in it. The most important of this, or one of the most important things that can come out of this, is of course the upcoming data or news events. Like, for example, you could be having NFP at 3:30 p.m. You want to be aware of that. You want to be able to do your research, pre-market research for that. You want to be aware of that previous days before. But the idea is there, it's simple, right? It's just vital for me to know so I can prepare and do my appropriate research, in order to ensure my highest probabilities of trading well in the day. Now, I don't want to overdo this segment here because, this is just one of the 3 methods that I use to avoid overtrading. But I can elaborate this further in future videos if that's something that you guys want to see. The main takeaway here is really just having a plan for the day, being aware of the day's activities and events, and sticking to a formulated plan. For me, combining my fundamentals, my technicals, my hypos with all of that information. Now, let's move on to number 2. And this is an oh so simple but such an effective method to avoid overtrading. And that's my trade by trade tracker. It's a simple sheet, okay, I'll show you one now from last Friday, okay, which is this here, right, with various columns. And I make sure that this is on my table, right, on my desk, first thing in the morning as well. And I fill this out whenever I'm in a trade or whenever I'm about to make a trade, right? On this sheet are things like, what market am I entering into? What was the entry price? What was the reason for entering? My stop and profit targets, as well as, of course, the result and mindset and other things. Now, why? Well, simply this. By having a fully executable plan before entering the trade, avoids those impulsive trades, right? That we as traders, of course, fall victim to. By making sure I know where and why I'm entering and, where I'm happy to exit either side of the trade, means I will not trade just because I saw a solid momentum moving candle, flying off the page, and I got trigger happy. Don't get me wrong, it still happens from time to time, or at least the impulse is there, right? But I assure you, even if I do enter a trade like that, and I have done in the past, I will still make sure it goes on that sheet. right? Because why? Well, I want to make sure it keeps me in line, especially when it comes to debriefing at the end of the day, which swiftly moves us on to my third and final practice, debriefing. Now, I'm sure you've probably seen, a lot of videos and heard a lot about debriefing, and you even do it yourselves to a certain extent. And I'd just like to say at this point, before I go into this segment, whatever you do with your debriefing, improve on it, because every single day my debriefs improve and they always keep improving. You can always get better. There's always room for improvement there. But going back to debriefing itself, my God, is it super advantageous to us as traders and our trading development. And not only advantageous, it's necessary, right? By debriefing your day, and every day, may I add, don't miss a day because you want to go for a few drinks with your friends at, early in the evening. You make sure that debriefing is done. I do not leave this office until my debriefing is done. Now, what makes this really, important, what is one of the things, that makes this vital is, you're putting pen to paper at the end of the day. Not only the trades that you're taking, but your mindset. What worked? What didn't work? What could me personally have done better within that trade? What didn't I do? Right? All these things basically just really help me advance in my, with my trading skills. For one, let's just say, because there's that old adage saying, as we know, if you note something down, that you're studying, for example, it sticks more. But also it makes you accountable. And I've used that word a few times because I think that's the key word of this video. And it's not just the daily debriefing, by the way. It's the weekly debriefs. Look back. I mean, it's a Sunday night for me here. I'm going to be doing my weekly debrief tonight, right? And it's all about, for me, looking back at, what did I improve upon the most, for example? That's one of the things that I do. Or what was the, common thing that I did quite often that needs improving throughout the week? What are those patterns? Maintaining this discipline is vital to any trader's growth. But apart from, all the benefits that debriefing brings to the table, how does it deter oneself from overtrading? Because that's what this video is all about, right? Well, again, that word, accountability, and also exposing yourself, to what you may be doing to be overtrading in the first place. Of course, there's so many benefits to this practice, but we'll leave that for another video because it deserves one, right? So that's it. Those are my top 3 practices that help me avoid those overtrading impulses. If you've got questions, throw them down in the comments below. Of course, as always, keep sharing, stay engaged, hit the like button if you found this video helpful, and of course, click one of these links next to this video to see more. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next video. Happy trading.